Hello, 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 my loves. As always, I hope that this live or this replay finds you well and in excellent spirits. So, happy Tuesday, and welcome to another edition of the weekly Astro Forecast live here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. All right. So, this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So, if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my love. So, this is the weekly astro forecast for the week of February 3rd through February 9th, 2025. All right. So, yes, it is Tuesday. Yes, I had to reschedule yesterday's live. If full transparency, sometimes when I have to process a lot of emotions or whatever, I take the time to do so, especially on Mondays, because Mondays are ruled by the moon. The moon is your emotions. Monday is typically the day, like in terms of nature, right? Monday is the day when you're actually supposed to rest, when you're supposed to take it easy. It's a day of receptivity rather than a day of doing. So society kind of has it backwards, but what else is new? But regardless, that was yesterday. So of course, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging, so decided to do the live today, this morning. So hopefully your week is starting off well. In terms of the week, I think that this is going to be a week where we experience some positivity, right? We've got a planet going into a different sign. We have a planet changing direction, and we do have some pretty fortuitous energy, I will say. And we also have a lot of energy that can really bring opportunities. So this is going to also be a week where you want to be vigilant in terms of what's going on around you, what presents itself, what kind of orbits into your reality, because opportunity will abound, will abound this week. All right. So before we get into all of the details, of course, housekeeping and announcements. If you are joining me here on the live, thanks so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate you. Say hi on your way in and hit that like button. It really helps the channel. It shows the algorithm that you like this content and it pushes it out to other people who may enjoy it as well. So any sort of participation on the channel is always greatly appreciated. And if you are catching this on the replay, I sincerely appreciate you just as much. And I hope that you receive everything that you're looking for in this broadcast, whether it's information, confirmation, illumination, enlightenment. If you find that you receive any of these things, as I intend that you do, definitely hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. Please and thank you. All right. So let's see. Busy month, busy week here at Divine Feminine Works. All right. So my private community, Cosmic Collective, is on and popping. I definitely suggest that you get in there. There's going to be different, I'm not going to say different kind of content, but just different sort of abilities to interact with other people, learn some new things. And I've got a whole bunch of amazing events this month, and everything is happening within the community. All right. So the link is in the description box below. Free. So come on in, get comfy, meet some new people, and learn some new things. All right. And speaking of events within the community, this Thursday is my signature workshop for the month, okay, which is called the Cosmic Key Manifesting Success in 2025. So 2025 is a year of dynamic change. And I'm not just saying that for dramatics. It really is a year where things are going to shift so dramatically, right? And to be successful this year and beyond, it's all about alignment. It's not about doing the most. It's not about it is about hard work, don't get me wrong, but it's not about like hustle and grind, especially if you're going in the wrong direction or doing the wrong things. It's all about being in alignment and being in alignment with what works for you. And that's exactly what this workshop is going to teach you. It's going to teach you how to align to your highest potential when it comes to your astrology via your natal chart. We're going to talk about transits. We're going to talk a little bit about astrocartography. We're going to talk about numerology, right? We're even going to do a sound therapy session so you can clear energetic blockages that prevent you from being successful. Like, this is definitely the workshop that you don't want to miss. All right. It's going down on Thursday. So definitely sign up if you haven't already, because this is going to give you the foundation, not just for this year, but it's sort of going to give you the blueprint for success for you beyond 2025. All right. So if you're interested, the link will be in the description box below. Right. Also, do I have anything else to announce? No, that's pretty much it. So we can definitely get into the theme of the week this week, right? And this is fire and desire. All right, sounds juicy, as it should. Okay, so this theme has everything to do with Venus entering Aries, and that's actually happening today. Okay, and so Venus in Aries, it's giving this very lusty, this very fired up kind of energy. Okay. Now, I will say this is the caveat to this theme. You likely will feel fired up about something. You'll likely feel really motivated to get something done, to really push forward, to go after something, right? However, you still need to understand, and this bodes well with the monthly astro forecast for February, is that we're still in a slower pace kind of energy. Really, things are going to pick up at the end of February. All right. And so Venus in Aries, and I want you to pay attention to wherever Aries is in your natal chart, not just for Venus, but we have a plethora of energy within 2025 in the sign of Aries. And Aries lights things up. Aries is the ignition, right, to get things going. And so that's why, shameless plug again, talking about my workshop, which is happening on Thursday. That's why having the foundation for success for yourself is so important, because this is going to be a year where we have the energy to really start some new things. And to have new things, you kind of have to act in new ways, right? And so I say all of this to say that with Venus entering Aries, there's going to be this desire, right? This push even to start something new. It could be starting something new in the realm of finance. It could be starting something new in the realm of relationships, right? But the action steps needed to pursue that thing, it's not necessarily the time to take them right now, because we're still in this, I want to say sleepy. It's not sleepy, but it's very much slower kind of energy, because we still have Mars retrograde. And this is important because Aries is ruled by Mars. And so with Venus in the sign that is ruled by Mars, and Mars is sort of debilitated and slow right now, it's like having a parked car and then pressing on the gas, right? You hear the car revving, but it's clearly not moving anywhere. And so that's how this may feel, which could be frustrating, right? Especially if, again, we're still at the top of the year for the most part, where everyone's like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to get this done. It's a new year, new me, all of the things, right? So it can feel a little frustrating because you've got this drive, but no energy in order to facilitate the drive. So that being the case, it really gets you to fine tune and focus on what it is that you want. Anytime we experience retrograde energy, it's not just about things being slow, or in the case of like Mercury retrograde where, everything goes to shit. It's not about that. It's about reflection, and oftentimes it's about refining or refinement, right? So in the space and in the time when you can't do much, you really can prepare for when you can do more, right? And that preparing is really saying, okay, what is it that I really want? And this is great, right? For two reasons. Number one, money and relationships, like those are the two things that people typically want to know the most about. And with Venus in Aries, it really gives you the opportunity to focus on that. Aries is very focused energy. It's laser-like focused. It's not scattered. It's not wanting 58 million things. It's typically perhaps wanting one or even two things to the point of almost obsession. That's where that focus comes from. It's like, I want this so badly. And you just fixate on it, right? So using Venus in Aries at this time, when Mars is still retrograde, it's great for what is it that you really want? What are you really fired up about? What are you really passionate about. Getting clear on that so that when Mars does go direct at the end of the month, now you can take action in a way that is focused, in a way that is streamlined. All right. The other thing that I will say about Venus and Aries is that this is great preparation because next month, Venus is going retrograde. Okay. And Venus retrograde is going to be very interesting because this is so a lot of times you'll hear perhaps that when Mercury goes retrograde, oh, your ex is going to come back. That can be true depending on where Mercury is going retrograde in your chart. However, when Venus is retrograde, that is the very essence of returning exes or returning issues when it comes to love. And so if you're not laser-like focused, or if you're not particularly clear on what it is that you want, when Venus goes retrograde, it may be difficult to decipher which direction to go in or where to put your energy. So this Venus retrograde, I should say Venus moving into Aries, with it about to go retrograde. Venus is actually right now, Venus is in its pre-shadow phase. So Venus has already started to slow down. And it will be going retrograde on March 1st. Okay. So I say all of this to say that this week with Venus entering Aries, it's really important for you to fine tune, refine exactly what it is that you want. Perhaps when it comes to money, when it comes to relationships, okay? But either way, that desire, that fire, figure out where you want to place it, where you want to direct it, right? Where you want to use it to create something. So that's your task for the week. Okay. So that is the theme for the week. All right. And speaking of the week, let's get into the week and see exactly what we've got going on. All right. So for the week of February 3rd, we've got Mercury trine Jupiter, Venus conjunct the North Node, Mars square Chiron, Venus entering Aries, Jupiter going direct, Venus sextile Pluto, Sun sextile Chiron, Mercury sextile Chiron, Sun conjunct Mercury, and Mars trine Saturn. All right. And so this is quite a fortuitous week. Okay. So I want you to keep your eyes open for opportunities that could be opportunities for abundance, good news, things like that. But I'll get into that as we go into the details for the week. All right. And let's see what the moon is doing this week. All right. So the moon will begin in the waxing crescent phase in Taurus. Then it will progress into the first quarter phase in Taurus. And then finally, we close out the week with the moon waxing gibbous in Gemini and Cancer. All right. So we are in the space between the new moon and the full moon. So the moon is waxing. And so this is when we typically take action steps towards the things that we want. If we're talking about the manifestation phase, this is when you take action, and of course, inspired action towards what you want to bring to fruition, what you want to create, all of that stuff. Okay. So this is an action-oriented week given the phase of the moon, even though the rest of the astrology still has us kind of slow moving and sort of still, I don't want to say asleep. I will say it's like, and I think I said this in the monthly astro forecast. I talked about how, you know, how particularly if you set your alarm, like if you wake up at the same time every day, and a lot of times you'll wake up before your alarm and you're still sort of half asleep, half awake, you know, you got to get up soon. That is the energy of February, right? So we're still kind of asleep, but we're starting to wake up. And by the end of the month is when the alarm is going to go off and it'll be time to wake up, get out of bed and take action. All right. So let's begin with Monday. All right. And so this was yesterday. So we had Mercury trine Jupiter, Venus conjunct the North Node, Mars square Chiron, and the waxing crescent moon in Taurus. All right. And so let's see what this looks like on the chart. Okay. So you will see at the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see Mercury at 11 degrees of Aquarius, and it is trine to Jupiter, which is at the top of the chart at 11 degrees of Gemini. Then we've got Venus. Oh, I didn't even circle it. We've got Venus conjunct the North Node, which is in the middle on the right-hand portion of the chart, all right? And they're both at 28, 29 degrees of Pisces, okay? Then we've got Mars square Chiron. Mars is at 19 degrees of Cancer. Chiron is at 19 degrees of Aries. And then we've got the moon at 0 degrees of Taurus. All right, so lots happening yesterday, okay? So I don't know about you, but yesterday I did feel kind of there was this intensity. It just felt like there was like a lot on my plate yesterday. That could very well be a result of the astrology. All right. But first, let's talk about Mercury trine Jupiter. This is a very good transit when it comes to planning, when it comes to if you have to give a presentation or anything like that. Mercury is the planet of communication. And just because this happened yesterday doesn't mean that we're still not subject to the energy today. Whenever I say, like, okay, on Monday, this transit is happening, it means that that is when that transit is exact, meaning that that's when both planets are at the same degree. Not same degree where they're next to each other, although that can be the case. But for instance, like Mercury is at 19 degrees, Jupiter is at 19 degrees, okay? But as the planets make their way to 19 degrees, we're still subject to that energy. So this Mercury trine Jupiter energy can last 2 to 3 days, maybe even close to a week, right? So it's definitely something to keep in mind when listening to these forecasts. So if you're saying, oh, that was yesterday, like especially if it's a very good transit, right? It's like, oh, this is going to be a day where, you get a windfall of money. And you're like, damn it, that was yesterday. Like, what about today? I missed it. Trust me, you won't miss it. The energy is very fluid. Okay. So, Mercury trine Jupiter. This is generally a positive transit. It has a lot to do with perhaps good news, good ideas, right? Because Mercury and Jupiter are both in air signs. So this could be a great conversation, good news, a great idea, something that can help improve your situation. Okay. So it's almost like a light bulb moment for the most part. And this could be related to abundance. So it could have to do with money. It could have to do with networking. It could have to do with a variety of things, right? But I feel like this is the transit where, something good will happen. Whether you hear it, whether you read it, something like that. And if you are someone who, let's say that you do YouTube, right? Or anything like that, even if you're a social media influencer, right? Publishing anything under this transit is always going to be beneficial, especially since both planets are in air signs. So even though today's Tuesday and this transit was exact yesterday, publish that post, upload that video, do whatever it is. You might find that the algorithm favors you, right? And you get a wider reach, more engagement, all of that good stuff. Okay. So that's Mercury trine Jupiter. Next, we've got Venus conjunct the North Node in Pisces, and it was also conjunct Neptune. This gives a very dreamy and a very sort of ethereal kind of energy. It's like believing in your wildest dreams or really feeling love and acceptance. Okay. It's also a very highly spiritual transit. Okay. So Venus conjunct the North Node, it's really about perhaps the relationships or the resources to get you to where you need to be. It's like being at the right place at the right time. Okay. One of the things I've noticed is that over the last week, I've been very active on Threads, right? And if you're familiar with Instagram, Threads is sort of the competition to Twitter, or X, I should say. It's associated with Instagram and it's just like Twitter, right? And the engagement on there is top tier, right? It's like I see all of these threads, right, about people who are accomplishing things, having great months, celebrating their wins and all of that stuff. That's very indicative of Venus conjunct the North Node, right? It's like these relationships that can motivate you even to create new dreams and goals for yourself. Right. Again, it could also be right place, right time, right resources, the exact amount of money that you need to get something done to facilitate a dream or a wish. Right. Wish upon a star. That's all I will say. And then be receptive to whoever or whatever orbits into your reality. Okay. This transit, we're still under the effects of it. So don't limit yourself. Take the time to really get comfortable with what it is that you want. Maybe not even comfortable, to get clear with what it is that you want, right? And then allow the universe to orchestrate and bring it to you. That's the best way I could describe this transit. Then we've got Mars square Chiron. Okay. Now, Chiron is all about healing. Mars, even though it's still kind of sleepy and slow right now, it's all about taking action. And it's all about being proactive about things, right? But when you have Mars square Chiron, it's like wanting to take action, but your insecurities perhaps get in the way, or your emotional wounds get in the way. This could also be indicative of fears that serve as obstacles, right, to moving forward or to starting something new. And especially with Mars still being retrograde in Cancer at the moment, it's like not only are you really in your feelings, but you probably don't even have the energy to tackle your fears and your insecurities, right? So when it comes to Chiron, when we talk about Chiron, it's really about like overcoming your insecurities, right? You can't get over something unless you go through it. And Chiron is a perfect example of that. Excuse me. And so Mars square Chiron, it's like, I want to move forward, but I just can't. I just can't right now. And that is not a bad place to be, right? Because again, while we're in this lull of the energy, right? While things are still slow, while things are still arguably a little sleepy, right? We're getting clear on what we want. We're getting clear on the direction that we're going, and we're getting clear on everything. And this particular transit can help you get clear on where you're standing in your own way, right? Or what's holding you back from starting new things. Mars rules Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, right? And so, like I said, it's the ignition. But a lot of times when it comes to starting something new, depending on the story we've been telling ourselves, depending on what's going on, we can psych ourselves out. We can let other people's opinions of us sort of influence our ability to start something new. And so with Mars square Chiron, particularly now, examine where you are standing in your own way, or perhaps where you have fear or what you're afraid of when it comes to starting something new. Now, I want you to understand that a lot of times, and if you watch my weekly astro forecast regularly, it kind of sounds like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, right? In different ways. And that's true, right? Because the universe will consistently remind us of things. It's like, when you were younger and your mom or your parent kept telling you, clean your room, clean your room, clean your room. And maybe you didn't do it. But then after a while, it's like you heard her voice in your head saying, clean your room. And eventually you did it. That's how the universe works with us a lot of times. Okay. And everything builds upon itself. So imagine, right? I spoke earlier about how 2025, and if you haven't watched the yearly astro forecast, the link is in the description box below so you can check it out. This is a year of dynamic energy. There's going to be a lot of Aries energy this year, later on in the year, which means we're going to have the opportunities to start some really new things in our lives. However, if you're someone who's afraid to start something, if you have insecurities around starting something, this particular transit, namely Mars square Chiron, is saying, okay, the universe is giving you the opportunity to address those things. Why are you fearful? What insecurities are roadblocks to starting something new? Are you just not motivated enough? Or are you scared, right? These are the kind of questions you want to ask yourself. And this is a great journaling exercise, right? Because with a year where we can start something new, you want to really understand how you feel and how you view starting new things. And the universe is giving you that opportunity with Mars square Chiron. So definitely take advantage. And then finally, we have the waxing crescent moon in Taurus. Now, I love when the moon is in Taurus. The moon is exalted in Taurus. And so it's when we get to chill, right? It's a Netflix and chill kind of a thing. But apart from that, whenever the moon is in Taurus, especially in the waxing phase, It's a call for gratitude and appreciation. Because Taurus likes to stop and smell the roses. Taurus understands and values rest, stability, right? And so when you're resting, when you're stable, it's like, all right, you kind of get to take stock of what's around you, what you have. And so it facilitates appreciation and gratitude. So one of the things that I personally like to do when the moon is in Taurus is I like to spend some time either journaling gratitude statements or just meditating on gratitude, the things that I'm grateful for. So I think that is a nice little activity to do while the moon is in Taurus, right? Because gratitude is one of the highest frequencies, right? And when you elevate your frequency, this is when you start to attract things to you that are of the same frequency. If you're grateful for what you have, the universe will give you more to be grateful for. And so it's a great exercise to do when the moon is in Taurus, all right? And so that is Monday. So now let's move on to Tuesday. So today we've got Venus entering Aries and we have Jupiter going direct. All right. And let's see what this looks like on the chart. So we've got Venus entering Aries at the right side of the chart. You'll see Venus at 0 degrees of Aries. And then we have Jupiter at 11 degrees of Gemini, which is now going to be stationing direct in the sign of Gemini. All right. So I talked pretty much about Venus going into Aries when I talked about the theme, but there's one other thing that I want to impart on you with Venus entering Aries, okay? And that is finding value in competition and confrontation, okay? Now, Venus in Aries is very much about, I want this thing, I have to have it, that fire and desire that I was talking about before, right? However, Venus is a planet that is concerned with harmony. That's why it rules Libra, the scales, right? And so Venus wants to keep things harmonious. Like Venus wants something, but Venus doesn't necessarily want to upset the apple cart to get it. Venus wants everybody to be happy, everyone to be on the same page, for there to be harmony amongst everyone. Except when Venus is in Aries. When Venus is in Aries, Venus in Aries tends to be selfish. And understand that selfish is not a bad word. We've been conditioned to think that, oh, if you're selfish, then, you're a bad person or whatever. That's not the case. If you don't look after yourself and your needs first, you can't expect anyone else to do the same. And so a little bit of selfishness is necessary for all of us. And Venus in Aries understands that. But Venus in Aries also understands that if I want something bad enough, I'm willing to defend it. I'm willing to say, you know what? I don't care what your thought is about it. I don't care that you don't like this for me. I like it for myself. You're willing to defend your desires. And thereby, you see the value in confrontation because that really keeps you 10 toes down when it comes to the things that you want. So when Venus is in Aries, right, it's all about being unapologetic when it comes to your desires, when it comes to the things that you want. If something is aligned for you, if something really speaks to you, if you're passionate about something, there's value in that. And you don't necessarily have to people please. You don't necessarily have to have this kumbaya, everyone is in harmony kind of moment in order to facilitate that. If you need to ruffle some feathers, if you need to sort of kick people in the ass, figuratively, right? Then do that. That's fine. And Venus finds value in that when she is in Aries. There's also value in competition. So Aries is the sign of the warrior. It's the sign of competition. Okay. And so competition keeps you sharp. Again, going back to what I was talking about before, I'm very active on Threads. And if you are on Threads, I have the same username as at Divine Feminine Works. But I noticed how at one point, the algorithm started showing me a lot of other astrologers and people who were in the spiritual space. And, I started looking at their numbers and perhaps their websites. And I'm like, damn, like I'm feeling a little, I'm feeling a kind of way, right? But I realized that is what keeps you sharp, right? That competition. And it's not like I need to be better than the next person or, this is my enemy or my nemesis. It's nothing like that. It's like, okay, you're just kind of seeing what everyone else is doing out there. And it's getting you to be motivated, right? To sort of light a fire under your ass, perhaps to improve certain things about yourself or your business or your relationship or whatever. Venus in Aries finds value in competition because it helps, I want to say elevate her, but not necessarily elevate her. It helps to sharpen her, whether it comes to you getting sharper on what you want or whether you're fine tuning what you already have. And especially with the sun in Aquarius, and Aquarius being the sign of innovation and improvement, Venus in Aries gets you to see what the competition is doing and say, okay, how can I improve my shit? How can I do better? There's value in that. And Venus in Aries knows that. So when you're, again, in this sort of sleepy time still, maybe see where you need to tighten up or sharpen up, or maybe where you want to improve something with respect to whatever new thing you're starting, or perhaps what you're passionate about. So those are the two things that Venus in Aries values: competition and confrontation. Okay. Now, next today, Jupiter is finally going direct in Gemini. All right. Now, Jupiter has been retrograde in Gemini since October. And when I tell you this particular Jupiter retrograde has been really frustrating, it has. Not just because Jupiter itself, being the planet of expansion, when it is retrograde, it's all about limitation. It's dialing back that expansion. It's dialing back the growth, right? It's getting you to sort of go within and understand your own limitations. That can be frustrating. And then you put Mars retrograde on top of that with everything being slow as molasses. Yeah, it's been a very frustrating time. However, now Jupiter is going direct in Gemini, and this means taking the brakes off of your mind. Jupiter in Gemini wants you to be curious. It wants you to learn new things. It wants you to almost go into a different stratosphere when it comes to your mental capabilities. This is the time to learn, okay? And so Jupiter in Gemini wants you to do just that. And now that it's going direct, we're not so much in this space of limitation. We can go back to expansion. We can go back to growth. We can go back to letting our minds wander, okay? For some, this could have been a physical thing in the sense that Jupiter has a lot to do with travel. And so when Jupiter's retrograde, perhaps you're not traveling as much, especially if you're someone who travels a lot, or maybe your desire to travel was a little limited. Okay. But now, again, Jupiter going direct, you can move about the cabin freely. Okay. Love that. All right. So that's Tuesday. So now let's get into Wednesday. So Wednesday, light day, we have the first quarter moon in Taurus. All right. And let's see what this looks like on the chart. All right. You will see at the right-hand side, Taurus. The moon will be in Taurus at 16 degrees. All right. So when it comes to the moon still being in Taurus, we're still in the vibe of appreciation, of rest, of chilling, right? But with the first quarter is halfway between the new moon and the full moon. And it's like, all right, you're assessing what kind of has worked and what hasn't in terms of the action steps you're taking to achieve something. And so now it's like, all right, what transpired in the past is past. This is the time where you sort of gain momentum. To give you an analogy, if you've ever ran a race, if you've ran track, right? You know how you can start off really strong, right? And you're kind of ahead of your competitors, but sort of halfway through, you're noticing through your peripheral vision that people are catching up to you or people are even surpassing you, right? That's the time when you're like, okay, it's time for me to power up. It's time for me to perhaps pace myself differently or start moving faster, right? And this bodes well with what I was saying before about Venus and Aries, about how competition, and there's value in that, how seeing competition, seeing those around you can help you sharpen up your own skills and help you move forward. So when we're in the first quarter phase of the moon, that's kind of how we feel. Okay, so this is going to be a week where we really sharpen up not only what we want, but what we're doing to get it. Okay, so that's the first quarter moon in Taurus. So now let's move on to Thursday. Now on Thursday, we have the waxing gibbous moon in Gemini. All right. And let's see what this looks like on the chart. You will see at the right-hand side, the moon is at 0 degrees of Gemini. All right. So another light day where the moon just shifts into the sign of Gemini. Whenever the moon is in Gemini, things tend to get a little busy because Gemini is a kind of busybody kind of energy. And so with the moon in Gemini in the waxing gibbous phase, this is when, Gemini is a mental sign, right? It's an air sign. So it's concerned with our ideas and our communication. And so when the moon is in Gemini, particularly in the waxing phase, this is learning the things that you need to learn, right, in order to facilitate this goal or the thing that you want to manifest, talking to people, being communicative about what you're doing, or perhaps your need for assistance or anything like that. But it's more so following your curiosity. Your curiosity is very much an agent of your intuition. And so when we find ourselves curious about something, or when we find ourselves really like wondering, what if, or sometimes you need to go down that rabbit hole, because going down that rabbit hole will give you exactly what you need to get to where you're going. So whenever the moon is in Gemini, talk to people, be social, but also follow your curiosity. Like I said, it's an agent of your intuition. Okay, so that's Thursday. Now let's move on to Friday. So on Friday, we've got Venus sextile Pluto. Okay, so Venus just moved into Aries and it will sextile Pluto. That is very early in Aquarius. So let's see what this looks like on the chart. All right, so at the bottom right-hand corner, you will see Venus at 2 degrees of Aries. And then to the left, you will see Pluto at 2 degrees of Aquarius. All right, so in astrology, whenever we talk about sextiles, we're talking about opportunities, and typically positive opportunities. Now, this is a good one. Pluto changes things. Pluto is the planet of transformation. So clearly there's opportunities for transformation. But transformation with respect to what? Well, Venusian-like things. So it could be relationships, it could be money, it could be fairness, right? In a more sort of higher level esoteric kind of way. But if you're looking to change your financial situation, if you're looking to change your love life or any relationship, now, of course, you want to look at your natal chart to see where Aries and Aquarius are. This will let you know perhaps what kind of relationships can be changed at this time. But those are the two things. So if you're looking to change money, if you're looking to change relationships, this is going to be the transit for you. Now, it's not necessarily the case that things are going to fall into your lap. Sextiles denote opportunity. So opportunities will present themselves. And of course, since you have free will, it's up to you whether you want to take advantage of them or not. Now, understand the way that Pluto works. Transformation with Pluto is of a permanent nature in the sense that it is intense. It will uproot things, but can completely change a situation. So understanding that, if you're sort of setting the intention right now to, have better finances or better relationships, it might get worse before it gets better. And that's exactly how it would play out, given the fact that we're talking about Pluto. So strap in and get prepared for a wild ride. If this is, an area, if these are things that you're looking to change at this time, because not only will it be, change of a permanent nature, it's also going to be a process. So if you are willing to undergo this process, if you're willing to allow what needs to die so that what can be reborn can be born, then this is definitely going to be a wonderful transit for you to make those changes. Okay. Now let's move on to Saturday. All right. So on Saturday, we've got the Sun sextile Chiron, Mercury sextile Chiron, and the waxing gibbous moon in Cancer. All right. So let's see what this looks like on the chart. Okay. So we've got Mercury and the Sun are both going to be at 19 degrees of Aquarius. And then we've got Chiron at 19 degrees of, what is that? Aries. And then I didn't circle it, but we've got the moon in Cancer, waxing gibbous in Cancer. All right. So we've got, all right. So, I said earlier that this is going to be a week that's likely going to be fortuitous, right? And that's for two reasons. Number one, Mercury trine Jupiter, which occurred on Monday. And number two, it's going to be the Sun conjunct Mercury, which is happening between Saturday and Sunday. Sun conjunct Mercury is known as a Mercury cazimi. And so it's basically just astrology speak for a really fortuitous transit where you may hear good news, you may read something positive, you may have a great idea. It's definitely giving like a light bulb kind of moment. Okay. And then you've got both of these planets on Saturday sextile to Chiron. Now, I mentioned Chiron before is the wounded healer. And so Chiron has a lot to do with our emotions, our baggage, our trauma, all of that stuff. With Mercury and the Sun sextile to Chiron, there's going to be opportunities for healing. And this healing can really have a lot to do with your personality. So it could have a lot to do with your self-esteem and confidence. So perhaps if those are the areas of life where you're not necessarily like where you have insecurities, like maybe you don't think the best of yourself or you're afraid to express yourself even, I feel like this particular transit is going to give you opportunities to get over that, to work through that, to process that so that you can shine and express yourself exactly as you need to. It's very beneficial for personal development and improving your self-esteem. Okay, I feel like Saturday is going to be a great day for that. And then we have the waxing gibbous moon in Cancer, and the moon is at home in Cancer. So this is a cozy kind of feeling. Now, Cancer is about nurturing. Okay. And so when the moon is waxing in Cancer, we nurture the things that we want to develop. Think about it as like watering your garden. And so you kind of hunker down and you protect and you nurture the things that you want. It's also on a more mundane level. When the moon is in Cancer, it has this homey vibe to it, right? So you like to be at home. Maybe you like entertaining at home, spending time, excuse me, with close family. Those are definitely some great activities to do when the moon is in Cancer, right? Hold on, I need a drink of water. Mm, much better. All right. So that's Saturday in a nutshell. You have the opportunity to strengthen your self esteem, and maybe you can spend time with family or just nurture something that you are working on. Okay. So that's Saturday. And so finally, we close out the week on Sunday with the Sun conjunct Mercury, like I just talked about before, and Mars trine Saturn. Okay. Let's see what this looks like on the chart. Okay, so at the upper right-hand corner, you've got Mars in Cancer. And then at the bottom of the chart, you've got Sun conjunct Mercury. They're both at 20 degrees. And then we've got Saturn at, I believe that's 18 or 19 degrees of Pisces. All right, so let us discuss. I already talked about the Sun conjunct Mercury. It's called a Mercury cazimi. And this is good news, light bulb moments, clarity when it comes to self-expression, self-esteem, all of that stuff. With both the Sun and Mercury in Aquarius, this is about improving your life or innovating your life. All right. So when you're clear on sort of who you are, how you feel about yourself, how you want to express yourself, you can make the necessary improvements, AKA Aquarius energy, when it comes to those things. Right. So it's great, like I said, for personal development. And then we've got Mars trine Saturn. Now, when you put Mars and Saturn together, it typically kind of has a negative connotation. Okay. However, Mars is in Cancer, even though it's still retrograde. We are actually nurturing the things that we want. Okay. Now, because Mars likes to move a mile a minute and it likes to sort of take the most direct route from point A to point B, with Mars being retrograde, it's getting you to slow down. And retrograde gets you to refine, like I said before, right? And so Mars trine Saturn in this particular situation, or this particular configuration, I should say, has a lot to do with nurturing what it is that you want in a way that can give it longevity. Saturn is about time. And anytime we have Saturn in any sort of transit, it gives staying power to anything. Now, here's the thing, what I'll say about Mars. Mars wants something, but that motivation, it can really, sometimes it really only lasts in the beginning, right? Especially like, for instance, New Year's and how everyone's like, I want to lose weight. I want to go to the gym. And you may even buy new workout gear, new sneakers. But right now, what is February 4th? Maybe that motivation is non existent anymore. Maybe those sneakers, you've only worn them twice. You've only been to the gym twice, whatever. Mars trine Saturn allows you to, rather than setting off a firecracker, which is Mars trine Saturn is like building a campfire. And, every so often you have to add wood to it. You've got to stoke the fire. You've got to move the coals around so that the fire remains. Okay. And that's what Mars trine Saturn gives to us. So if there is something that you've been working on or something you've been working toward, and given the current state of the astrology, it's your efforts have either been, your results have been non-existent or slow. It's okay. Keep going, keep stoking that fire, keep adding wood to that fire, right? To keep the motivation going. Saturn reminds us that, while there are instances where we can have something instantly or something quickly, a lot of the things that mean something, a lot of the things that are valuable in our lives, it's a process. And the process could look like being motivated one day and not the next, taking action one day, not wanting to the next. And Saturn's like, all right, just because we have a bad day today doesn't mean that we give up. It doesn't mean that we throw this to the side or we throw it in the trash. We keep working at it. So whatever it is, and you want to take a look at where Cancer and Pisces are in your natal chart. This will let you know sort of perhaps what you're working on and what you can infuse with longevity and commitment, because Saturn ultimately is about commitment. So don't lose hope, don't lose faith, don't lose motivation. If you're having a bad day, allow yourself to have a bad day, but keep it moving. Yeah, yesterday you fell off the wagon, you had a whole tub of ice cream and didn't go to the gym. Guess what? It doesn't mean that you throw away today. It means that you put on your sneakers, and even if I can't remember who I was talking to, but at one point I was talking to someone. I was talking to a good friend of mine who was, beginning a weight loss journey. And I said, "Listen, this may sound crazy. However, on the days that you don't even really want to go, like, even if you just go and sit in the parking lot, it'll be helpful. Because guess what? If you're sitting in the parking lot, you will likely go inside, right? Any sort of action is good. It doesn't have to be the perfect action. It doesn't have to be, you set a goal to work out 4 times a week. You've only made it twice this week, right? Don't beat yourself up about it. You have a whole nother week to get it right. So again, keep adding wood to the fire, keep stoking that fire to keep the momentum going. All right. And that is how we close the week. Okay. So hopefully you got some good information. You kind of know how to navigate the week. And yeah, that's all I got for you. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you nothing but the absolute best for this week and beyond. And I will see you at our usual time, Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. All right, my loves, take care and have a great week.